There were many casualties of the coof in 2020. A few even died of fucking COVID. But perhaps more alarming than any of the things we dutifully handed over to Antonio, 14 days to flatten my credibility, Fauci, was how many of those things we simply didn't even notice were fucking gone. Granted, yesterday was technically the first of fucking two E3 pre-shows. Honestly, people, at this point, the pre-show is at least half the length of E3 itself. Shit has more meandering exposition than a fucking Kojima prologue. And speaking of which, if you've ever wanted to marvel at the spectacle of an ostensible journalist tonguing the balls of his interview subject to completion, and you don't have access to a White House press conference, what Keighley and Kojima did on stage yesterday is still illegal in many southern states.
And I'm very excited to share this with you right now. Hello, mystery guest.
Hello.
Mr. Kojima, it is so good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
のものづくりっていうのは今自分がいる世界を見てで地続きで5年後10年後20年後どうなるかっていうのを考えながらそこにエンターテインメントを加えていって作ってたのが結構その10年後20年後に当たってたりっていうのがあったんですけど今回の DS に関してはもう発売直後になったので、大きく考えていると思います。911の時と同じような感じだと思います。これからエンタメがどういうふうに切り取っていくかっていうのはやっぱり大きな課題ではあります。
Yes, friends, after docking their dicks live via satellite, Kojima then compared the on-the-nose make love, not hate, build bridges, not walls allegory in Death Stranding to the immediate aftermath of 9/11. I guess he finally did see Death Stranding sales figures. I could have outsold that shit sandwich with a line of bottled baby vomit. At least then I could have suckered a few punks into confusing it for guacamole. That's right, I said it. Jam your avocado paste up your ass, you no-taste-having hipsters. And then, after an overt reference to an all-new, overrated entry in the Metal Gear franchise, he pulled a master Kojima-caliber bait-and-switch and instead revealed the director's cut of goddamn Death Stranding. You heard me right. A director's cut of a game he had complete, unencumbered directorial control of. Holy hell. Watching Twitter troglodytes honestly feign excitement for this shit, even after how awful the original Ass Cancer was, I honestly don't even know how to hold all this crippling fucking stupid. If you still support this pretentious twat at this point, you are part of the problem. Blow me, weebs. Just pretend you're Jeff Keighley and I'm a talentless prick in a Yoko wig and hipster glasses. Either way, by Lemmy's mole, I swear until just this week, I'd plumb fucking forgotten the video game industry's annual E3 hype hurricane had failed to touch down last year at all. And be honest, did any of you notice it all? I mean, sure, previous years were shit. What was the big reveal a few years ago? A timed exclusive Final Fantasy VII remake? What the fuck? And yet somehow what YouTube loosely classify as people were legit hyped for that horse shit. While E3 may have started with some sensational tech demos and software announcements in the 90s, more recent E3s are proof in practice you could dangle a bundle of fucking fishing twine in front of some fuckheads, and so long as you flash a Final Fantasy logo afterward, you couldn't wipe the fanboy splooge off the screen with a squeegee or Zoe Quinn's tongue. But 2020... call me Casey Anthony, but I didn't even notice that shit was missing. Which is saying something, seeing as it was the final E3 before the shiny new plastic bricks from Micro Sony Soft sent us all running to Amazon to not be able to fucking buy them. So what to expect from E3 2021's remote event? In short, nothing you couldn't already find in a fucking video game trailer playlist on YouTube, but with Jeff Keighley looking like a sleepy chameleon between breaks. As for predictions, on the Nintendo side, expect the Big N to quietly dominate the same way they have for over a fucking year and change. Breath of the Wild 2, maybe some Metroid, who knows? Possibly that Nintendo Switch Slim that's been rumored, but motherfucker, if you fail to commemorate the 40th fucking anniversary of my dude Donkey Kong, we're gonna have more words than a dialogue balloon in a Liefeld comic. Remember where you came from. No Donkey, no goddamn Mario, whose real name is Jumpman, by the way, bitches. Mario is his slave name. And speaking of slavery, Sony's been buddy-buddy with Epic Games of late. And given they sell consoles like hotcakes and games like cow pies, they've been looking for an inroad into the PC gaming space to hopefully actually sell some fucking software for once. They waited entirely too long to recognize the ascent of PC gaming, and now Sony find themselves in dire need of some way to counter the growing popularity of Xbox Game Pass, which despite being the newest distribution platform has already sidled into a surprisingly close second place in PC gaming. A partnership deal with Epic's CCPC gaming service would be stupid on about 17 different levels. Which is exactly why it sounds like something Sony would fucking do. Problem being, it's all Steam sloppy seconds at the end of the day. Look, someone's gotta eat Sony's lunch, and Gabe Newell never saw a lunch he didn't want to fucking ingest. Which brings me to the games. It's a year with 4 numbers in it, which means Sony's sucking off Final Fantasy once more. Whether that means a more material reveal of the already teased FF16, or more likely a second chapter to the impossibly padded FF7 remake is really anybody's guess. But for people with actual taste, much more alluring is the simultaneous promise of a, quote, numerical sequel to a prominent Eidos franchise. And with that Avengers game failing to go aluminum, let alone gold, and Cyberpunk 2077 sinking like the Lusitania, there is officially a Deus Ex-shaped Cyberpunk RPG hole in the market. If ever there were a time for Squeenix to acquire a clue, now is the time! Which is precisely why it probably won't fucking happen. Ah, well, a girl can dream diddling herself to the Deus Ex GMDX mod in the meantime. Hey, desperate times call for desperate strumming. As for the other software, well, it's Sony, and it's a day ending in Y, so swing a dead cat and just try to avoid hitting a Sony-exclusive third-person open-world whammon simulator where wielding a bow replaces gameplay problem-solving or a story you can't see through from 50 fucking yards away. Like Fuentes reaching the big boy shelf at Toys R Us, it can't be physically fucking done. And then there's Microshaft. Though I'm a PC gamer to the core, I do tend to buy at least one of the major consoles per generation just for variety's sake. And with the N in Sony being silent these days, already possessing a Nintendo Switch, not to mention being profoundly underwhelmed by the impossibly overrated PS4, I somehow managed to find a fucking Series X. And look, for what it's worth, I'm satisfied as I can be with any of the underpowered plastic mini fridges on fucking offer. Hitman 3 alone justified the purchase. It's a modern stealth masterpiece, and you should fucking play it, you pricks. Halo Infinite is effectively guaranteed given its theoretical release later this year. What's most interesting about this year's E3 for Microsoft, though, is that at this point, they own absolutely fucking everyone. No Bethesda conference this year, because they done already bought them bitches. No Obsidian or Exile appearance at the PC gaming show, which had been perennial to this point. They're all owned by Bill Gates now. Half owned if his ex-wife has a fucking thing to say about it. Point being, the inevitable Elder Scrolls 6 cinematic teaser or Starfield gameplay featuring the already leaked Billiard Barbie Dreamhouse horseshit from Fallout, but in space, is now more than mere meme fodder for Bethesda's annual hype-stravaganza, which may be the best for both companies. Look, let's be real, some years it was almost impressive watching Todd Howard stretch 2 entire announcements into an hour and fucking change press conference. This year, both Bethesda and Microsoft can cut some fat out of their presentations, lean it all down, and may actually show us some shit that might actually drop this decade, which brings me to the bullshit du jour that applies to all 3 companies. Thanks to the Pinko Pox, everyone in the entertainment industry has been working remotely for the last year, which for video games means that these days they're being utterly incompetent by proxy. And as we saw from several Summer of Love adjacent titles, this slowed an already insouciant production pace to freeze-dried fucking lethargy levels. So no matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter the sweet, honeyed lies that come tumbling from Todd Howard's suspiciously ageless mouth hole, take every timetable they offer you and multiply it by motherfucking 2. So as you lay prostrate, buffeted by the bullshit winds that every E3 engenders, tuck your fanboy boners away, click off a yong yeah, vainly attempting to express an unpaid opinion, and just remember, folks, thanks to Fauci, you have a better chance of spotting Natalie Holloway before half of this shit. And rather appropriately, thanks to supply chain issues, most of this shit that does release will be declared dead before the fucking Amber Alert goes out. I'm Razor Fist. God fucking speed.
Talking to Messiah. Talking to Messiah. I'm talking to you. Talking to Messiah. Talking to
9 9/11.
But 9/11 was a national tragedy.
Yes, it was.
Why do you laugh at that?
You said it. No, worse.